a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Is it time? Okay.
My phone said no.
Is it time?
Yeah, 9:01.
Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Welcome. Welcome to our board meeting today. I'm Dale Lair, the president of the 2022 Board of Directors. This regular meeting of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Board of Directors is audio and video recorded by RCSC management and staff. Please be advised, there is to be no recording of this meeting by any individual. You want to take your cell phones out, make sure they're on the silent mode, and be respectful of that. Wishing to be respectful of everyone's time, I hope that we can work together to bring this meeting to no more than 2 hours in length. We've been running pretty long lately. Some issues will need discussion and with the return of the town hall style member exchange, topics may require further study before moving forward. To adjourn meetings after 2 hours, any agenda items not addressed during the allotted time will need to be carried over to the next meeting, and comments from RCSC members and board members may need to be further restricted at times. I'd like to start the meeting out with a roll call, please. Secretary Lanevsky.
Director Collins.
Present.
Director Fimmel.
Good morning.
Director McAdam.
Good morning.
Treasurer Akins.
Morning.
Vice President Agi.
Good morning.
I'm here. I'm Alan Lanevsky. Director Nowakowski.
Good morning.
Director Wilson.
Here.
President Lair.
Here.
We have a quorum. Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I would like now to introduce our timekeeper. Our parliamentarian is not here today, unfortunately, last-minute changes, and management personnel. Our timekeeper is Director Collins down at the end. Bill Cook, our general manager.
Good morning.
Kevin McCurdy, Director of Finance. Mike Woodprude, Director of Buildings and Infrastructure.
Good morning.
Brian Duthu, Director of Golf and Grounds.
Ms. Chris.
Chris Herring, Director of Operations. Jolyn Higgins, Communication and RCSC Marketing Coordinator. Marsha Johnson, Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
And Teresa Serino, I think, yes, up in the booth. I would also like to recognize Alan Kleinhans and Mike Crawford, audio-visual engineers, Jim Moore and Dave Miles, audio-visual technicians who operate all audio at this and other events. And my apologies to you, gentlemen, for not recognizing you last time. Oh, there's somebody else I don't know. Oh, our director of, hold on. Randy Johnson.
No, Randy's not.
Is that Randy Johnson back there? No.
And Bird.
Randy, oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I can't see that far. I would also like to welcome all RCSC members who are attending our meeting for the first time. Approval of, wait, before we start the approval of minutes, I almost forgot. We have some very important information. I'd like to have our general manager, Bill Cook, come up to the mic and address the audience, please.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam President. So I'm not sure if, I'm sure most of you are probably aware that there has been a probably 2 or 3 year rate case plea from EPCOR to the Arizona Corporate Commission to consolidate rates among communities and cities, and that would have been a significant increase in doing a blended rate for Sun City, as we are on the lower end of water usage. And so there's been a lot of effort by SHOA and by actually RCSC as well. We've committed assets to this fight, and I received a message yesterday from one of our attorneys who helps us with our receivables, but I'll just read it from you. So the Arizona Corporation Commission voted for consolidation scenario number 1 in the water rate case. This will, and perhaps you know this, keep Sun City's rates standalone, meaning the rates will not change substantially, which is in line with what we advocated for. So, so it was a long fight, and there's a lot of folks from SHOA and such that really put a lot of time and effort into this. So it's good news for everybody. So thank you. I'm sorry?
Will that be on the website?
Yes, actually, we can put that on the website. Sure. Joe Wynn? Can we put that on the website? Thank you.
All right, moving forward. Minutes. The minutes of the January 10th, 2022 meeting were posted for the director's review. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, hearing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. Treasurer's report. Are there any questions on the treasurer's report?
Madam President?
Director McAdam.
Yeah, I do have a question about that. So I kind of tried to figure out what basically our rate of return has been on our the various accounts that we have invested right now. And according to this report, the first one is returning 2.73% interest, the second one 2.65%, and the third one 3.69%. And I'm just curious, given that inflation right now is running between 6 and 7%, it seems to me that we're actually losing money through these investments. Has there been any discussion about whether any divergent action would be called for?
Madam President, Director McAdam, so we have a very strict investment policy. And actually, as interest rates are approaching close to 0% on many items, we are very limited. And so the investments that we actually do invest in, which are basically commercial paper from various AAA-rated organizations like Home Depot and those types of corporations and companies, we get a little bit better return than we would, in a certificate of deposit. But as interest rates have come down, those rates have come down, and so we have really not invested or reinvested because we've had no options, because it basically costs us about 15 basis points to do the investment. That's our cost. So we have made an arrangement with our investment organization, Creative Consulting, to just allow us to invest in anything that's over 20 basis points. So there hasn't been much out there, so our return has actually come down. But as interest rates go back up, we should be able to see a higher rate of return.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hearing none, the treasurer's report will be filed for audit. Management report. Are there any questions or comments on the management report? No one? I just have one comment on the space attendance summary. The very back, I just noticed that under dedicated, clubs with dedicated space and clubs with non-dedicated space, Artistic Weavers is listed on both. The roster is the same, but the numbers are split up, so I'm not quite sure why that is, but just something I saw that was a kind of a fluke. Any other comments? Okay, thank you, Mr. Cook, for the management report. Committee recommendations, Secretary Lanefsky.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm sure the Long Range Planning Committee this year, and they have a recommendation, so I'm going to make a motion on behalf of them. It is moved on behalf of the Long Range Planning Committee that the analysis of capacity utilization, and trend analysis be performed annually by RCSC management and distributed to the Board of Directors and the Long Range Planning Committee for use in executive planning with board set parameters, budgeting, and forecasting.
Thank you. Because this is a recommendation from a committee, we do not need a second. Secretary Lanevsky, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of its adoption?
Yes, Madam President. Very briefly, the committee, the Long Range Planning Committee, has worked long and hard on a utilization capacity analysis as a tool to help the board make decisions for long-range planning about the use of the facilities and how they're being used. No one is saying that the utilization study is completely 100% accurate, but it is a start. And we need some type of tool. And all we're asking right now on behalf of the committee is that it be used as a tool and that the management be directed to use a utilization tool. And that's what we're asking.
Discussion? Karen?
Yes, Madam President, I guess my question is, are we referring specifically to this tool as it currently stands, or just to the idea that we need to have some kind of capacity and utilization tracked?
I'd like to answer that. I would think that the concept is there. Much like when we did space allocation, we turned our information over, and then Chris took it to another level and, progressed with it. So I think the concept here is to take a look at what our capacity is and really start tracking utilization so that we can make better decisions regarding, what activities are really growing. It's a better use of our resources and our dollars so that we can keep our operational costs low and keep our annual assessments down. So that's really the purpose of it. It's one metric in a list of things that you're going to be looking at. But it's a tool.
Director Lanevsky, did you want to?
Madam President, I think you answered it, but very briefly, in my view, this is a starting point. Amendments can be made to it, things can be changed, but it's to get the ball rolling.
Madam President.
Madam President, conceptually, I agree. I think that we do need a tool to do that. However, I think there needs to be some kind of idea of what the standards are that we're going to base this against. The whole idea of doing analysis like this is wonderful, but if it's getting data for data's sake, I'm not sure that that's a worthwhile endeavor.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'm thinking that this has not been done on an annual basis.
Never.
So we're just starting to do it. They want to get it started on an annual basis because it's something that needs to be done. And I think as it goes along, they will tweak it and start building standards, and they'll start building a tool that will work. But in order, you got to start somewhere. So now you're going to just start it on an annual basis, which is what has been needed for a long time. I think as it goes, it will grow.
Any further discussion? Karen McAdam.
So my question is voting for something like this to take place is what we're doing, or are we voting to basically affirm the capacity analysis and utilization report that you presented after a recent board meeting? And my concern is the following, and I actually did write down a few words here that I'd like to just read to you. While I entirely support gathering data and applaud all efforts to do so, I'm very concerned about flawed assumptions regarding capacity, which of necessity lead to flawed conclusions related to utilization, which of course would lead to flawed decision-making. For example, while indoor sports like bowling are based on an 11 or 12-hour day, outdoor sports are based on a 14 or 15-hour day in this study. If we view ourselves strictly as a business operation rather than as a service organization, this means we are telling our membership that if things are crowded when they like to play, they could instead show up at 5 or 6 in the morning when the center opens and play in the pitch black when it's 35 degrees outside. And that's my real concern. I think that the assumptions that we have and what we have right now here are deeply flawed. And I'm very concerned that if we vote to say we're going to move forward with something like this, it's a tacit approval of the capacity study that has been done. And I guess I would be happy to vote in favor of a process, but not what we currently have going. So I guess that maybe I'm asking for some help in determining what a positive vote would actually mean in this situation.
Karen, thank you.
Madam President.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Just a question, not about the study itself, but what impact will this have on the requirement for monthly reporting of the information and the availability on a monthly or quarterly basis to review that information?
Director Fimmel, that's a very good question. I'm looking at, this is not going to be a monthly report by any shake of the imagination. I think it's going to be annual. And we already have an activities report that's coming out, and I believe we're going to be showing utilization for clubs with dedicated space. So I think we've got a lot of things moving in the right direction. To address your concerns, Director McAdam, businesses really need to have a good, solid understanding of what their capacity is and how much they're using it. Before you can expand, use money to expand services, buy another facility, whatever, you really need to make sure that you're using what you have efficiently. This is just standard business 101. We need to understand, and I understand where you're coming from as a service group, and it's for the recreational purposes. But we also have a bigger hat to wear on the board, and we have to think about dollars that are spent and that they're spent wisely. And in order to do that, we have to start collecting data, and we have to start using that in the decision-making process. Will this capacity analysis and capacity utilization be exactly as what was written here? I don't know. I'm turning this over to management. I have a lot of faith in them. Chris Herring did a wonderful job on the allocation, much better than the report that I did, and I would assume nothing less. So this is a step that, the Long-Range Planning Committee put a lot of time and effort into this. I thought they were very future-focused in their evaluation, and this is a much-needed tool for RCSC. Director Lenowski.
Madam President, I want to go to the actual language of the motion. And the motion doesn't say that it's going to have to be exactly what was done by the Long Range Planning Committee. What it says is do one. And at the very end of it, it says it will be used in executive planning with board set parameters, which means that amendments can be made, budgeting and forecasting. So in other words, what we're trying to do is get a concept out there that we're going to look at things as they are. We're not saying that you have to use the study that was done by the Long Range Planning Committee. Far from that. But what has to happen is, in order to get going and starting to do stuff, you got to do something. And if we look to try to get everything perfect in its beginning stages, then nothing's going to happen and we're not going to move ahead. That's my view. Thank you.
Vice President?
To echo Ms. McAdams, Director McAdams' comment, I mean, I agree with what Alan just said. This just says that we're going to do something. I don't think it defines exactly what analysis, so I mean, it does afford us the opportunity to amend the process, if you will, moving forward.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So I think it's really important for me to to understand that a positive vote in this is no way a tacit approval of the document that we have right here. I have very, very severe reservations and concerns about that. And I think if I heard management say, we hear you, we realize that those assumptions need to be changed and tweaked, I would feel much more comfortable about moving forward.
Well, I think you've already heard that from us. I think it's pretty clear. You know, as human beings, we make mistakes. I know you pointed out, you know, the fact that the Mountain View hours weren't exactly correct. I did go back and look at those hours. I did recalculate that, and it did push Mountain View's utilization as a percent of capacity up to 24%. However, when you looked at the whole picture of pickleball, it did not change it. It was statistically insignificant. And I think what we have to do is get out of the minutia and start looking big picture here. We need a tool to make some good decisions on how to run this corporation. Is there any further discussion? Secretary Lineski, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Director Akins.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins. Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes. Yes.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
I vote yes. Does President Allaire want to vote?
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. It passes.
With 8 votes in favor, the motion passes. First
9
reading.
if you voted.
9, sorry, 9. Didn't count myself. Okay. The first item of unfinished business is the approval of the ad hoc committee to review and revise the RCSC bylaws. Second reading for this motion is Director Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to form an ad hoc committee to review and revise the RCSC bylaws.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Director Nowakowski. Is there any discussion? Director Collins, since you're the maker of the amendment, do you wish to speak first?
Yes. I think this has been needed for a long time, and I also think that we need to get monthly progress reports on how this is going once we start it, just to keep the public and the rest of the board members up to speed where we are and how we're doing. Thank you.
Okay. Marcia, please read the names of the members who signed up to speak on this motion.
No one signed up to speak on this motion, Madam President.
Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Director Nowakowski.
Looking at some of the history on what was done previously on this, I hope history doesn't repeat itself, because what happened in 2010, there was a committee that was formed to study the an ad hoc committee to study the bylaws. They came back with one report sometime in 2011. In 2012, the new bylaws were passed unanimously without any review from anybody. I'm only reading the minutes of the meetings. That's what it says. I hope that history doesn't repeat itself in this process.
Any other further comments, discussion? Secretary Lineski, will you please take the roll call vote?
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Aiken.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Allaire, do you wish to vote?
Yes.
9-0, it passes.
9 in favor, the motion passes. Second reading. We now have some postponed business. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the members who signed up to speak on postponed business items only.
Okay, when I read your name, please come up and sit in the chairs reserved in the front row. When called to the podium, please state your name and member number, and most importantly, whether you're speaking for or against the motion. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage. So I've got Patrick Gannon, Carol Aaron, Steve Wright, Christy Svedson, and Lori Ellingson.
Go ahead.
Madam President? Is this on? Yep. My name is Patrick Gannon, member number 150056. I'm here to speak in support of passing the following two motions. Agenda Motion 2 for the right to collect signatures for RCSC-related petitions at RCSC facilities. And Agenda Motion 3 for the clarification of the process for moving forward with a member petition. Petition is the place of last resort for members to make a request for particular action from the Board of Directors. I implore you, hear us, get how disenfranchised many of the members feel, especially after the annual membership meeting, where we met the quorum number requirement and then were not allowed to vote on any of the motions that we had submitted. These two motions are about allowing the members one single method for grassroots advancement of a request of the board. One single method that does not need the, quote, approval of the board before the members can collect signatures for a petition. I've read the bylaws, and I was astounded at the number of times any requested action needs board approval. The feeling is like when I was a young child having to ask my parents for permission. Well, I am no longer a child. I am an adult with 26 years of experience answering to boards and working to strengthen boards. And I know there are others in our membership who share the same feeling of disempowerment. There's no downside for this board by voting yes on motions 2 and 3. Vote yes to demonstrate to the members that our reasonable requests can be heard. Motions 2 and 3 are so straightforward that they can be voted on right here, right now, today. Please take this opportunity to vote yes on these two practical motions in support of healthy self-governance. It will still be an uphill climb for any petition. The petitioner would still have to convince 3,218 other members to support the petition. Vote yes on motion number 2 and motion number 3 today. We all need a win. We all need a win. Thank you.
The next person signed up is Carol Aaron.
Hi, my name is Carol Aaron, 22036. First of all, I want to say I'm in favor of postponed business. I've got 2 and 3 on here, but maybe it's 1 and 2 because it's the quorum and the signing on RCSC property. Just in case I do not have time to finish, I wanted to say that to begin with, but I will also apologize to the board ahead of time if they do get approved. But after the last board meeting when the agenda items were postponed because of one board member who did not want to dismiss himself because of prior scheduled medical procedure, I'm thinking that you will not approve it. Right now, we have a board that is not in agreement. That is not all bad. The old board must have thought that it does not look good if everyone does not agree. In the real world, there's always disagreement, but you work on coming together and finally agreeing with some give and take. I've been in Sun City for 20 years, and in the past, most everything is passed with maybe 1 or 2 dissenting votes. This past year, the board has done a few things that has awakened the community. The 4 new members all received over 1,400 votes. That number of voters has never been reached in Sun City. The quorum presented the agenda for the membership meeting and had their own straw vote at that meeting. and there were probably at least 1,300 members there who raised their hand and voted for the agenda items. Some of the board members seem to think that the rest of the community are not in agreement with them, but the rest of the community either are very elderly and have health problems, can't get around on their own, have no computers, or do not read the paper. The other half have been here, and they've been here and done that, and are here to enjoy their retirement and love Sun City, but just do not want to get involved. We all love Sun City, all of us here and all of us here. The board has made, it's a great place to live, and the board has done a good job, a marvelous job of keeping it affordable and maintaining all of our facilities, but the members need a voice in this community. Only 20 seconds. But I believe the quorum should be changed to 500. Will it make a difference? Some think 500 is not a good representation of the community. My response to that would be, is 5 members of the board a good representation of the community? If we have a quorum at this time, we are still at the mercy of the board to get our item agendas passed.
Thank you.
The next person signed up is Stephen Wright.
Madam President, before I start my comments, I need a point of information.
Name and number?
Name and number?
Stephen Wright, 160117.
And are you speaking for or against any of the motions?
Before I state that, I need the point of information.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Lineski, at the last meeting you stated, and I quote, "As long as there is a provision out there that is trying to prevent the board from having a say, then would trigger the members overriding through a petition," unquote, you are not in favor of changing the quorum number. Would you please explain in excruciating detail exactly how the members can change the bylaws?
Sir, this is, I want you to talk why you're for or against the motions. You can save comments if we have time at the end. This is not the place for that.
It's a point of information which is allowed by Robert's rules.
Sir, just are you for or against, and tell us why.
I can't state that until I know what it is that the members can do to change the laws by petition or vote, as Mr. Lipinski stated that there is. Nobody knows what those rules are, and I just want clarification.
Okay, well.
And he should freely give it as a point of information. It's standard Robert's
What we're talking
rule.
about here is there's 3 motions.
Right.
And they all have.
And I'm talking about the quorum.
Oh, and you're talking, now we've narrowed it to the quorum.
Yeah, if you had listened to what I said in favor of changing the quorum number. So all I want is for him to explain in excruciating detail exactly how the members can change the bylaws with a petition or a vote.
It's in the bylaws.
I have not been able to find it. Can you cite that?
Not right off the top of my head,
Okay,
but I will look and I will get back to you.
I will step aside, let others make their comments while you look that up, but you may not close the comment period until that is cited. Thank you.
The next person signed up is Christy Svensson.
Okay. Are you looking this up? Or is it just me?
We need some comic relief, don't we?
Yes.
We need to laugh. Okay, I'm not here to cause everyone to laugh today. I am here to...
Christy?
I'm sorry, Christy Svensson.
Thank you.
137489. I say that in my sleep now. I know it very well. I would like to echo the first speaker's, and I didn't get his name, his comment that we need a win. We all need to come together on especially the RCSC facility signing. We need to have access to RCSC facilities to have petition signed, period. And also, the reduction of the 1,250 to 500 quorum is perfectly logical to me, but I won't belabor the point anymore. I yield my time to the next side. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The next person is Lori Ellingson.
Lori?
Lori Ellingson, 133335. I am in favor of all three of the motions. The very first minute of this meeting, every single person in this room stood up and recited the exact same 31 words. The last 6 of those words, everyone said, with liberty and justice for all. The definition of liberty. Liberty talks about how Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise, therefore, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We have not had a member meeting since 2009. We finally did achieve that under a lot of difficulty because of the bylaws that have been set in place. There were over 1,400 members that provided a quorum. Those members respectfully ask you to listen to them. They respectfully ask you to understand their thoughts, their feelings, and their reasonings for their opinions on why we brought forth the 5 amendments or the 5 motions that we brought forth. We are asking for you to listen to the members and understand why we are asking, what we are asking, why we want to see changes made. We thank you for your time. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Madam President, everyone that signed up has spoken on this.
Okay, so reply to Steve. Article 4 of the bylaws talks about membership meetings. They have Section 1 is about the annual membership meeting. Section 2 is about special membership meetings. They're different. In the annual membership meeting, which you can read this on your own, but it's to get, I don't have a problem with the quorum being 500 or 10 people, because it's an opportunity for the membership to get together, to talk, and to come up with recommendations to the board. A special membership meeting, that's where there would actually be voting or changes to bylaws, and that quorum cannot be 500. So the way the motion is worded, it's problematic. I would also look at Section 3 of the same bylaw. If you read this whole bylaw, it's all spelled out here for you. So again, that's Article 4, membership meetings, and I would read Sections 1, Sections 2, Sections 3, Sections 4, and 5, and 6. Okay?
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
My comment now? My comment now? Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to make my comment.
Okay, go
I'm
ahead.
in favor of changing the quorum number, and I reiterate what others have said of why is the board reluctant to represent the members' desires and willingness to reduce the quorum number. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay. The motion, the first pending motion has been postponed from the January 10th, 2022 meeting. Director Collins.
Madam President, at this time, I would like to remove the amendment, bylaws Article 4, Section 3, a quorum of membership meeting shall consist of not less than 1,250, changing it to 500 members. I want to remove that motion at this time.
Okay, minutes should reflect that Director Collins withdrew the motion. Moving on. The second item pending is a motion postponed from the January 10th, 2022 board meeting to amend bylaws Article 9, Section 2.B. Director Collins.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to amend bylaws Article 9, Section 2.B. Approved petitions may be circulated within or at RCSC facilities in a manner consistent with those being used by board candidates.
Do I have a second? Second by Director McAdam. Director Collins, as maker of this motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of its adoption?
Yes, Madam President. I've listened to everyone out there, and like you said, we need a win. We have to give and take. I do not believe the quorum I could have gotten past, so therefore let's fight another day, as you may, they say. This one here, this motion, I think is only fair to the residents, because that's what you had to do, I had to do to get here. And I think it's only fair that if you don't like what I do, you have an avenue to replace me before my term limit is up. That is why I'm bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Collins, any other discussion, comments? Oh, Director Lenowski.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to oppose the motion, but I'm going to explain why real briefly. As I said at the last meeting, this is very serious stuff that needs to be taken very seriously, and serious consideration needs to be made of it. While I don't necessarily oppose changing the petition system, I think you need to go through it with an entire bylaws revision, and therefore I think it's premature to act without having it looked at by a committee, and I'm voting no because I think we need to make sure that everything is consistent.
Any other discussion?
Madam President?
Is there any other discussion? No, Director Nowakowski.
Thank you, Madam President. Back in, I believe it was October of 2021, the board added the terms that the petitions for candidates can be done on RCSC property. It wasn't there before.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Yeah.
Well, my question becomes, why are the candidates treated differently than the members? If it's...
Order. Come on.
If it's okay for us as candidates to use RCSC property to get our petition signed, the same should be allowed for the members to vote against us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Director Collins.
Yes, my comment is to Director Lenowski. With your comment, what you're basically saying is we should vote on nothing until the bylaws have been completely gone through. And to me, that would be a major against our fiduciary duties to just stop everything until the bylaws are done where you're clear on what they are. We cannot wait until everything is done and re-gone through to proceed with business on this board. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other?
Madam President, very briefly. Mr. Collins, the Director Collins, as I understand it, I understand what you think I said, but if you take into context what I said last time, I wanted to act on the 5 proposals rapidly. That would mean going through the entire petition proceedings, setting up guidelines, setting up deadlines, setting up verification processes, so we can act on these 5 early and continue to work on other bylaw revisions. But this is too important to just act on without having a comprehensive change. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Director McAdam. Nope, Director McAdam first.
I have 2 points here. One is that it has been 55 days, Director Linefsky, since the members submitted these. When you say that you would like to act quickly, I just wonder what world we're talking about when 55 days is considered to be quick. My second point is simply that I believe that there are several members of the board who need to recuse themselves from this vote due to a fairly blatant conflict of interest.
I don't think so. Next. Further discussion?
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Madam President. The interesting things about changes of bylaws and reading old minutes is, I like to do my background. In between 2010, when the committee started, in 2012, when the bylaws were passed, there were 34 other changes in between those 2 years. That's what history shows. I don't see a problem doing it. We did it before. Yeah, the board is an entity that remains irrelevant of who's on it and what happens. Our history is we changed all kinds of things while the committee was working on it. Thank you.
Director Collins.
The main reason for this motion is to treat people with the same rights as they had when they ran for this board. Whether I'm on the board or off the board, I should have the same rights. And by us not letting them do this, we are not treating them the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen McAdam.
So, Madam President, you indicated that you disagreed with me when I suggested that several members of this board need to recuse themselves. So,
Director McAdam, this is a bylaw change. In order to have a bylaw change, you need 6 votes, a 2/3 majority. You're talking about something that has nothing to do with this.
I don't believe that's the case.
You know what? The way the bylaws stand today, it does. So if you want to you're not going to pass the motion if we take 3 people out of the vote.
Well, Madam President, I think we still have a quorum of 6, and 2/3 of that would require a 4-person.
We're not doing that, Karen.
Madam President, a point of order. I don't believe you have the right to change the rules mid-course here, but I guess I would just ask you to explain to me why a member who is facing a recall petition is not in a conflict of interest when it comes to voting on something that makes collecting signatures for recall petitions more difficult or less difficult.
Director Akins, please.
I would like to know, how do you know the recall petitions are out? Where do you get that information from?
I believe you're supposed to direct your question to the president.
Or would you ask her where did she get her information? And how does she know this? It has not been public information.
That's the problem that we have. There's a lot of rumors going around. You know what? We have bylaws in place right now, okay? You're wanting to change it. I don't have a problem with that, but let's follow the rules. And to come here today and throw out, we need to recuse 3 people off the board, that's your opinion. I'm saying I don't agree with you on that.
So, Madam President, I did not say that it was 3 people. I said that several members of the boards. And my question is a general
3 members,
question.
4 members, whatever you want.
Right, but my general question is, in what way is that not a conflict of interest to allow people who are facing recall elections to vote on a measure and to be able to vote down a measure that would make it more difficult for members to collect signatures? I appeal to
I've heard your appeal, and we're moving on, okay? Is there any other discussion? Secretary Lanevsky, please take the roll call vote. Oh, and I want to make sure everybody's aware, according to Robert's Rules of Order, an amendment to the bylaws requires a 2/3 vote of the voting members, 6 members, unless specified to the contrary in our working documents. Secretary Lanevsky.
Director Collins. Director Collins.
I vote yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
No.
Vice President Agi.
No.
Director Nikowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
I vote no. President Lair.
Abstain.
Okay. It's 4-4.
The motion fails. The third item of pending is a motion to postpone from the January 10th, 2022 meeting is a motion to amend bylaws, Article 9, Section 1.B.2. Director Collins.
Yes. Bylaws, Article 9, Section 1, Number 2. The Secretary of the Corporation shall provide a written notice of written notice of receipt of a petition as submitted. B, official petition with control number for use by all circulators within 15 business days. C, petition list of regulations will be provided. And D, petition start and completion dates. I move to make that motion.
Didn't you just do this one? Circulated petitions?
No, yeah, you just did that one on the third one.
I know.
Would you like me to repeat it?
I guess I'm a little confused, okay? On the second one, you changed the wording slightly, and you talked about approved petitions, correct? And that, okay.
We're not on that one.
Now we're not on that one, and now you're coming back to this one, and you've crossed off if approved. Okay.
I'll read what I would like it to say.
Oh, wait a minute. We are on the third item, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and on the third item, it hasn't been seconded, so we don't have to go through an amendment to the motion. Please read, since it's the first reading, read exactly what it is you want. Then we don't have to go through and amend it and do all that. So read the amendment.
Bylaws, Article 9, Section 1, Number 2, Secretary of the Corporation shall provide a written notice of receipt of the petition as submitted. B, official petition with control number for use by all circulators within 15 business days.
It's 30 days.
C,
15.
It's my motion. I own it until I make it.
Mm-hmm.
C, the petition list of regulations will be provided. And D, petition start and completion dates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Karen McAdam. All right. Director Collins, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of its adoption?
Yes, I do. The people turn in paperwork to us, and we should respond in a reasonable amount of time. I do not think we have in the past, as we've been waiting. I know one gentleman out here has turned in a recall petition. I think he started in September, and it's already into January. I think December 28th was when we acted on it the second time, so twice in almost 5 months it took. And I don't think that's acceptable when all we have to do is call a meeting and look at the petition that the gentleman asked for and make a ruling. So I think we need to have more time on it. I know that this will be defeated, but I'm making it anyway.
Thank you. Further discussion, questions? Secretary Linefsky.
Yeah, I want to briefly address this. Madam President, I want to briefly address this. What this attempts to do is make it a ministerial duty, which means that it's just automatic. That if somebody submits a petition, that it'll be granted. I don't necessarily disagree with the concept behind it. What I do want to do, having been involved in a number of these things as an attorney, is make sure the wording is correct, that there are strong guidelines on it, that there are strong disclaimers on it, saying that if the board does not agree or does not take a position or whatever the wording would be. I think the documents have to be written by an attorney. They have to be really airtight. And no, I'll respond. No, I'm not acting as an attorney. I certainly have some legal abilities from my career. The corporation has an attorney. What I'm saying is this has to be very, very tight. I don't want there to be any question as to what it means. There are questions now as to whether or not the issuing of a petition means the board is endorsing that petition, whether it be for what issue or for a recall. I want this to be very clear. The board does not endorse it. And I'm going to vote no today with the understanding that I plan to work on making this very, very tight. So that everybody understands the time limits, the deadlines, and what happens. And that's all I have to say.
Madam President.
Madam President.
Director Fimmel, please.
First of all, Director Linefsky used the word approve, and I don't mean to speak for Mr. Collins. I have some questions about his motion. But I think what he is seeking to do, and he can clarify it, is that when a member comes with petition, that the member will be issued a control number for petition. I don't read anywhere in here where it says that any member of the board is approving petition. Petition will only be even considered if 3218 signatures are signed. So I think this is a matter that is changing something so that the issuance of a control number is more pro forma. That is to say, just an administrative action to issue a control number to a petition. A petition carries nothing until it has 3218 signatures, and the petition is not considered until the petition is provided for consideration. Absent 3218 signatures, a petition will not be considered.
Thank you. I would like to make a comment, if possible. Thank you. I, too, don't have a big problem with this motion, except for the fact that I do believe it should be a pro forma issue, but right now, the way it's written, RCSC would have some liability here for slander or for libel. Anybody could write anything they wanted about someone. If it's not approved, it goes out. And if that's something derogatory towards a person, it says something that's not true, it could say it about you, it could say it about you. And we put our stamp and say, yes, you can spread this out all over Sun City, and we could set ourselves up for a lawsuit. So the concept is great. Don't get me wrong. We have to do our homework as a board to get these little details worked out so that we can do this. It's not a win or lose situation. We got to make decisions for the best of everyone. And I feel like we get pushed into a corner that if we don't agree to this, that we're the bad guys. That's not the case. I think you've got some really good points, but there are some legal bits and pieces, little minutia that we have to unfortunately work out before we can, pass something like this. That's my personal opinion, and I know I'm not supposed to give that to you as the chair, but I did. I'm sorry.
Madam President.
Director Collins.
Everyone consists of 9 of us. That's everyone. And I have a real problem when you say everyone, and they're all sitting out there. This is everyone. It's not the 9 of us. We are not everyone.
Director Collins and everyone sitting in the audience, if this board makes bad decisions that bring lawsuits against the corporation, you will pay for it. You will pay for it in your annual assessments. You will pay for it by having less money to do the things that you want to do. You have to be smart. I'm not trying to discount anybody. I own 2 homes here. I have family that lives here. I'm a 3rd-generation Sun City person. I really care about this, but we have to do it right. Is there any further discussion? Secretary Lineski, please take the vote. Remember, this is a change in a bylaw. You have to have 2/3 or 6 votes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
Yes.
Treasurer Akins.
No.
Vice President Agi.
No.
Director Nikowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson.
No.
I vote no. President Blair.
No. Motion fails. New business. New business. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the members who have signed up to speak to new business items.
When I read your name, please come up and sit in the chairs reserved in the front row. When called to the podium, please state your name and member number, and most importantly, whether you're speaking for or against the motion. Each speaker will have 3 minutes for comments as indicated by the light on the stage. I have 2 people, Cy Zuckerman and Stephen Wright. And Cy Zuckerman was the first person to sign up to speak.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Cy Zuckerman, 152969. I'm here to speak on
Director Collins.
the line item, where is it? Member comments at board meetings will be limited to posted motions. Against that. But I want to get something straight before I do. There's a thing about board member exchanges. Is that going to replace, so we'd be doing this with your bylaws and things on on the Monday, and then on the last Thursday, we would have an opportunity to come up and speak to you with our complaints and our little talks? Is that the way it's going to work?
Well,
if this passes?
Yes. I'm hoping that, it's very obvious that people want to get up and talk, and they have problems and they have issues, and we need to have a better forum than a formal business meeting to do that. So that's one of the items of new business, yes.
Okay, so the last Thursday of the month, we can come up and talk, if this passes?
Yeah.
Okay, and not in the first meeting? The first
Or
meeting
the
would
first
just be...
whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
the first meeting would just be, okay. If that's the case, then I got no problems. As long as I still have a voice, I'm good.
Thank you.
And then Stephen Wright.
Madam President, my concern on this is the deletion of with time allotted for members to make comments, and you change that to member comments at board meetings will be limited to posted motions. There are issues and concerns that the board may not be aware of and that the members need to bring to your attention and should not be limited to just what is posted. Thank you.
I would like to just answer that or address that issue. We were given a pretty clear directive by the membership that we were to follow Robert's Rules of Order. And Robert's Rules of Order during a formal business meeting do not have time for member comments. It is only time to address the motions. Therefore, we're trying to create this other venue that we can have that back and forth conversation.
So ad hoc comments will be allowed if they're not posted in the meetings?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone that signed up has spoken, Madam President.
Okay, the first item of new business is the motion to rescind the approval of the December 16th, 2021 Preservation and Improvement Fund budget. Director Nowakowski.
I move to rescind the approval of the December 16, 2021 Preservation and Improvement Fund PIF budget.
Madam President?
Is there a, oops, I'm sorry.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Gene Lapp, I'm the second one on the
Okay, you put down closed Mountain View pickleball.
Yep.
That's not, that would be under member comments at the end of the meeting.
We're just addressing the new business that's up here. Mountain View is not on the new business.
Mountain View is not.
No. Sorry. You can, sir, at the end, if we have time, please feel free to
Signed
address.
up for member comments.
Yeah, okay.
At the end.
At
I'm
the end.
sorry.
Okay. Director Nowakowski, I'm sorry. Is there
a second?
Is there a second? Karen McAdam. Okay. Director Nowakowski, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first?
This is a holdover from last time because there were some wording changes in this and the next motion to pass this as a first read only instead of the 3-read object. My objection to a 16-year budget is it's a 16-year budget. If it's a 16-year plan, I have good idea, not a problem. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a budget and a plan. Our budget is an actual authorization for our general manager to use and spend the funds without any other board approval. I don't believe that we should be doing a 15-year authorization of fund expenditures. As I said last time, we're allowing a future management team the opportunity to spend money without the input of a future board with money that we don't have. I just have an objection to that.
Okay. Discussion? Director Collins.
Yes, Matt, thank you, Madam President. You know, I sit here and I've been listening to how we need to study and make sure that we're not doing any damage to the corporation, and we should be clear before we take drastic moves that could endanger the corporation. And I have to agree with Mr. Lineski. I think we should study this more and make sure that this would not cause any danger to the corporation's financial situation. Thank you.
Madam President?
Director Akins?
I have to say that for the 16 years that I've lived here, the management team has done this kind of a projection for PIF, and we still are the most affordable retirement community in the country, and our fees have not been raised in 6 years. So I don't think it's a danger to do a projection like that. Not only that, but can always go in and be tweeted, because if you have followed anything, there are a lot of things that have been on the PIF that had to be removed or had to be changed or had to be switched with something else because something else has come up. So it can always be tweeted.
Thank you. Any other? Director Wilson?
Thank you, President Lair. I would like to ask our General Manager Cook about if we did that, if we rescinded this, how would it affect ADWR as far as what's coming down, what we have talked to them, when we're looking at hopefully getting some relief from them, this could have some major effects on that. Am I correct in that?
Madam President, Director Wilson, so yes, we have had a meeting with ADWR and made some commitments in terms of mitigating our golf courses, removing turf. And so we made those commitments knowing that we would have the budget for that. So if the budget is removed and the next board or the next board after that does not approve that mitigation, then there could be some risk, yes. If I could also add, I've been here 3 years, and in 3 years, the PIF budget has been changed, I believe, 3 times at least. And so there is always that opportunity. This PIF was created to accommodate everything that had been on the PIF prior to this, so I wanted to make sure that we incorporated the requests of the prior board and the current board. And so to extend it out that far, we had to do that in order to make sure that the funding matched the projects. Thank you.
Further discussion? Director Lonevsky.
General Manager Cook, I just have a couple questions for you. Is it accurate that the most we can go into debt is $750,000 without a vote of the membership?
Madam President, Director Lanowski, that is true.
Okay. And is it accurate that no matter what's on the PIF, if we don't have the money available, we can't spend the money except for that $750,000?
Director Lanowski, that is correct. If we, for whatever reason, came into an issue where the actual funding required exceeded the budget and it was over $750,000, then the project would have to stop.
Okay, thank you.
Madam President?
Director Nowakowski.
Our General Manager, right now, the last proposal that you sent out to us at our last budget changed. We changed the WRD. We pushed that forward in time.
Director Nowakowski, we did not change anything. Nothing has been changed. It can only be changed by the board. I was just presenting a case based on a projected statute change by ADWR that has not been approved.
Right.
So until that gets approved, in my opinion, there is nothing that needs to get changed. I was just providing you with some information that I was made aware of.
And one of the problems the other problem that I saw with that is the ADWR numbers changed also in that proposal.
The numbers would change because we would push out the projects, which would increase based on CPI, Consumer Price Index, so yes.
So as of right now, the ADWR items that were pushed in the revised proposed budget don't meet what was passed in December.
So Director Nowakowski, again, this was not a proposed change. This was information provided to the board to make an understanding of if the statute is approved as written today, that we could push those projects out. But nothing has changed. I'm not proposing a change. I was just providing you with information.
Then could you change the title on that sheet that you provided? Because what it says is budget.
No,
it does.
No,
sorry.
All I did was I changed what had been presented on November 18th. I think it was November 18th. All I did was I just pushed those projects out. So again, this is, to make it clear, this is not anything proposed by me. It was just giving you information.
Okay.
We don't have firm direction from ADWR. This is just, he's trying to inform you it's possible pending.
The fifth management plan probably will not be approved until mid-year, is what I've been told. So.
Okay. Any further discussion? Director McAdam.
So I do have a question about whether we're just debating whether this ought to be called a budget or a projection. So I guess I would like to hear from Director Nowakowski if this were not considered to be a budget at all, so even the November 18th which says that it is a budget. If we were to change that and call it a projection, would that
Absolutely.
help? Okay, well, in that case, I think I would like to offer a friendly amendment that rather than rescinding the approval of this, that we rename it the Preservation and Improvement Fund projection.
Before we go there, is there going to be ramifications for bigger projects like this? I mean, we do put spaces out there. We're not necessarily committed, but at what time does this?
Madam President, I believe it's semantics, whether you call it budget or projection. In my view, it's approved funding. If nothing ever changed with future board members and the board continued with that projection or budget, we would still have the authority to act upon those projects.
Okay, so do you still want to make an amendment, even knowing that?
I guess the question that needs to be discussed maybe in more detail is to what degree this is a carte blanche to spend the money. If it is a carte blanche to spend the money, then it doesn't matter whether we call it a budget or a projection. The question is more the substance of it. Is it a carte blanche to spend the money, or is this simply saying that this is what we're looking at? As I recall, the November 18th presentation was actually simply a justification for changing the PIF from $3,500 to $4,000. And so my question is then, is this a carte blanche for management to be able to spend this money up through 2035? If it is, I share the concerns that Director Nowakowski has mentioned already.
Okay. Director McAdam, anything that's on that budget or projection comes forward to this board for a vote.
Yes.
We did vote for Mountain View. There was a vote pending, and we postponed that. We're going to get approval.
Board policy, I forgot what number it is, states that the general manager has authorization to do expenditures on any annual budget. Now, whether we have an annual budget or a 15-year budget, we've authorized our general manager to expend those funds under a budget. And I have an objection to that. It's under our board policy.
Yes. It has to be approved by the board. It has to be approved by the board.
It has been approved by the board in December 16th. It's been approved. So for the next 16 years, we're authorizing our general manager to expend those funds.
No.
Well, we disagree.
We disagree.
Madam President, Board of Directors, so there are checks and balances in our process. I do not have an open checkbook where I can start cutting checks for whatever I feel like. The PIF is annualized, and therefore the expenditures can't take place until that year in which the expenditure was approved. We also have a bid commission, so all of the bids associated with anything over $25,000 goes through the bid commission, and so there's a check and balance. The bid commission has every right to come back and say, we do not approve this expenditure.
And Director Nowakowski, I believe you're on the bid commission.
And the bid commission also has another, I call it a caveat, because they can approve up to 10% more than what is approved in the budget without any other action from the board. So in lieu of doing a projected $105 million, we're at to $125 million expenditure allowance. Whether it's I'm on the board or not, doesn't matter. I have an objection to doing that for a 15-year budget.
Okay. Any further
Thank you.
discussion? Secretary Linofsky, would you please take the roll call vote?
Director Collins?
No.
Director Fimmel?
No.
Director McAdam?
Yes.
Treasurer Akins?
No.
Vice President Ege.
No.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Wilson, I mean.
No.
I vote no. President Lehr.
No.
The vote is 2 for, 7 against. The motion fails.
Motion fails. First reading. Thank you. New business continued. The second item of new business is a motion to approve the Preservation and Improvement Fund budget from 2022 to 2026. That's kind of out of...
Madam President,
wanna
I'll
withdraw?
withdraw that motion since the first one passed.
Thank you.
Or failed.
Let the minutes show that the motion was withdrawn. Third item of new business is a motion to amend the bylaws, Article 5, titled Board of Directors, Section 5, titled Meetings of the Board. Vice President Ege.
Madam President, as you just read, I move to amend bylaws Article 5 titled Board of Directors, Section 5 titled Meetings of the Board as follows. Starting with paragraph 2, to insert the words "and board" in member exchanges, striking with time allotted for members to make comments, inserting member comments in board meetings will be limited to posted motions. Paragraph 3, pass with a minimum of 2, insert the word 2, and strike 3, reference to readings, and then paragraph 4, inserting member or board member exchanges will generally be held the last Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium, striking and last Thursday. Insert or board member exchanges and board member exchanges. Sorry, this is a little confusing, but I don't want to have to read this whole thing here. Insert and board member exchange. The schedule will be posted for RCSC facilities. Board member exchanges and board meetings will last for a maximum of 2 hours.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Second by Director Akins. Vice President Ege, since you're the maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first in favor of the motion?
Yes, Madam President. What we've been talking about doing is changing the format of having 2 board members, board meetings a month, and to go back to a previous platform. Unfortunately, I wasn't around when they had member exchanges, but after speaking to several board members, present and past board members, I've learned that with the member exchange, it was more of an informal gathering, typically held at the social hall too, I guess back in the day. And then what happens is we all just get together and brainstorm. We can sit and talk, and again, more of an informal, face-to-face, one-on-one. We hear your concerns, we hear your suggestions, ideas, thoughts. Subsequently, between the board member exchange and then the next board meeting, we would get together and have work sessions to where we talk about.
No. Keep going.
Where we can talk about these things, because my frustration with the format that we have, a lot of times, and again, I'm just going to speak personally here, a lot of times happens, you guys come up with a concern, an idea, and it's the first time we've heard of it. So we don't really get a chance to talk amongst ourselves and try to hammer out and understand some of the ideas that are presented or concerns. So I'm just pushing really hard to go back to this 1 board meeting a month and member exchange format.
Thank you. Director McAdam.
So, thank you, Madam President. I'm trying to figure out exactly what Director Agee is suggesting, because I hear you suggesting that there be a work session added into this, and yet I don't see any text about a work session or what the context of that would be or what the form of that would be at all, and yet that seems like it's a very substantial portion of your argument for proposing this in the first place. So I'm just asking for an explanation about that. Is that something that needs to be added to this?
Well, that was something that I was going to propose later. I'm just trying to.
Can I address that?
Yeah.
I think what we need right now is we need to have a better forum for an exchange of information with the members. I mean, if we've learned nothing from last year, is that people have concerns, they have issues, and they have to have a way, to, without time limits, if they have to take 6 minutes to explain what they have to explain, that they can do that. And how that information, and I've talked to a few members on the board about, what we're going to do with that. But, we want it to be interactive and then have a time delay so that we can get it out to the board members on how we're going to solve. Some of these are going to take further study. And we want to come back to the next meeting with some ideas of how to address things that were brought up in the meeting prior. Is there something called a workshop or a work? No, there's nothing in here about that.
Not yet.
Madam President. Madam President.
Director Akins?
My first year on the board, we had the board member exchange, and that's when it was up in Lakeview Hall, Social Hall number 2 at Lakeview. And it was an informal setting. It wasn't as formal as this. We were all on the same level. And we're trying to figure out a way to do that again, because it was a back and forth exchange. It wasn't a work session. It was a meeting where the members were able to address us, and we were able to discuss things a lot longer. Instead of having to take care of a lot of business first, we were able to jump right in and start discussing things. And then we would, a lot of times the members would ask us questions that we would need to go get the answer from, and then we would meet and get the answer and then bring it back to you. But it's a lot more informal, and it's not as formal. And I think the residents really like that, and they would like to see it come back, because I've talked to several people. And we were trying to figure out a way to do it in here because of the fact that we would like to tape it, and the taping machines are here, and we would like to get down on the floor. When we did that with the annual meeting, it really didn't work well because it was hard to see everybody. So we're trying to figure out a way to rearrange the chairs, to not make it in a straight line, maybe curve it around to make it more of a circle, add out more microphones, and let everybody come up and speak, and there wouldn't be a time limit. You could discuss what you want to discuss.
Madam President.
Director Collins.
I'm totally confused. I'm listening.
Well, you're not the only one.
I'm listening to you guys sitting there and saying there is no time limit. You can come up there, you can talk, and the very last line says, board member exchanges and board meetings will last a maximum of 2 hours.
Absolutely.
So how can you be given all the time you need if the meeting can only last 2 hours?
Director Collins, right now when members come up, they have 3 minutes to speak. And we've found that that's troublesome. Some people have more to say. So, if you have a group of people and you have a spokesperson and they want to come up and talk for 10 minutes, they can talk for 10 minutes. But the overall meeting, that's not for me to decide or for the board. It's the members who will decide how much time. But we can't just have it carte blanche for hours and hours. We've gotten really bad with 4-hour meetings.
But you're saying the members will have as much time as they need.
Well, let me rephrase it for you. The members will have as much time as they need at the mic. But when the 2 hours are up, the 2 hours are up. Does that make sense to you? That's okay. No. It's a really, you know what? It's a work in progress. We have to change the bylaws before we can even bring this meeting forward.
When we ran for this position, we didn't put a 2-hour limit on our meetings. I don't think we should not allow them, we're changing the format so they can only talk at 1, okay. But to make them stop in 2 hours is just totally wrong. You're squashing them even more than they are now.
Director Collins? Director Collins, you know what? Maybe because I come from a business background, you know, to have meetings that go on for hours, we're paying our staff here. They are sitting here for hours. They have a lot of other things to do. We can be organized. We can do a better job. We have to do a better job. It's ridiculous to spend this kind of money all sitting here arguing about stuff. It's get the meeting going. We can tweak it as we go, you know, but I think a 2-hour meeting, I think, generous. I think every meeting should be done in an hour. That's my background. But I'm willing to go a little different on that. Director Lanevsky, please.
President Lear, I call the question.
Thank you. The question has been called. Do I need a second?
Call the question, yes.
You second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Show of hands. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's only 4?
In favor of calling the question?
In favor of calling the question?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
5?
I'm good.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Secretary Lanevsky.
Director Collins.
No.
Director Fimmel.
Yes.
Director McAdam.
No.
Treasurer Akins.
Yes.
Vice President Agi.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
No.
Director Wilson.
Yes.
I vote yes. President Lear.
Yes. 5, 3? 6, 3. Yes votes. The motion passes first reading.
Did you put some down? You voted no.
Okay. Member comments. Marcia, please read the name of the members that signed up to speak.
Jean Latham, Ricky Tolan, Gal, I can't read your last name, Greith, and Donald Duck. What it says.
Yes, there is a Donald Duck.
My name is Eugene Lapham. I don't have to give my address, I guess. It's 128626.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Lapham, L-A-P.
Lapham.
H-A-M.
Okay.
So I remember the meetings back in 2010 and 11, and I had stopped coming for a while. But I live in Sun City, and I realize there's no place anymore for virtually anybody to go have a picnic. Now, the Sun Bowl used to get 7,000. Now, with the lesser entertainment we get now, it's more like 3 or 4, but there's still no place for people to go have a picnic in this large monopolis we have. Now, a picnic needs parking for handicapped people in large numbers. It needs parking close to the event. Now, we play pickleball, and we've been going since early fall over to the pickleball courts, and have never seen another person there at all, never. And on the sign-up sheets, only twice, once there must have been the club because there was a number, and once there was somebody else that was there. Now, it doesn't show that the pickleball club exists on the list there, much less a number of how many there are. I went to the pickleball club yesterday to see if it was easy to join, and I was treated like a felon at best. It was, you know, I was a hockey player for years, and we treated other people badly. So the pickleball area is right near the Sun Bowl. There's plenty of parking, and we're going to tear that area up with the new construction going on, it would be a perfect place that's vastly underused to have a nice park. So that's my proposal that I would like to bring. And it would be much more used and more convenient.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next person signed up is Ricky Tolan.
Ricky Toland, 128792. I have been actively pursuing the recall of Board Member Sue Wilson for 5 months now. Searching for the covenanted petition control number, which we've been speaking about, and the 2021 board chose to deal with my insistence by having their attorneys deal with me, i.e. letters dated November 9th and January 10th from your attorneys to me telling me to stop and desist and any other information should go through them. Well, I am trying to recall a member of the board from where I live, not through the attorneys. And directing to Director Akins, on January 5th, I submitted 3 more people that I would like to recall, and I keep that from a secret from nobody. So on January 5th, after I submitted the paperwork, I actually took that paperwork to the independent newspaper because I feel like I'm out here all by myself. And I took it to the newspaper and I said, today I submitted these and I feel like I'm out here alone. And so just so somebody would have some backup. This is not non-public information. I have been clear that I want these 3 people removed. Okay, so on January 5th, I submitted the recall paperwork for the 4th time on Board Member Sue Wilson. First time on Darla Akins, so that's public now, and Michael Egge. And much to my surprise, I received 3 letters from new board secretary Levinsky. And I will read that letter. I got 3 of them for the 3 people that I did. This letter is to acknowledge the receipt of your application for the recall petition of Sue Wilson, Darla Akins, and Michael Egge, and the application is being processed. My question to you is, what does being processed mean? Secretary Levinsky.
President Laird, do I have permission to address? Sir, do you want to come back or do you want to walk out before I give an answer? I can hear you. Okay. Do I have permission to answer?
Sure.
What has occurred is that it's gone to the attorney for a legal opinion. We're going to do this stuff right and make sure that what we do is legal. People can laugh all they want, but that's their prerogative. But that's what we're going to handle things legally, correctly. As long as I'm the secretary, that's what we're going to do. Thank you.
The next person signed up is Gail.
Good morning. My name is Gail Greffy. I've been a resident here since 2007, and so I'm here 15 years next month on the 15th.
Can you give us your member?
My last name is Greffy, Grethe.
And your member number?
Oh, my member number is 101826. And I thank all of you who do have on your mask. Evidently, the rest of you don't care if you die or not. My own family in Illinois and here, they are all currently, right now, they all have the virus. And they did separate, they did get their shots, and they did do the right thing, and yet they all got it from coworkers and other people. So now I want to get to what I want to talk about briefly. Does anyone in here remember what the grandfather clause was in 2003? Raise your hand. Okay, for the rest of you, if you resided here in Arizona, in Sun City, in 2003, the rec board came up with that if you were only one person, you only paid half of the rec fee. If you were two people, you had to pay the whole cost. And if you purchased your home after 2003, no matter your circumstance or anything else, you had to pay the full cost. And whether or not it was per resident then, rather than per homeowner or Mr. and Mrs. or whatever. So I have paid that full amount for these years, and I, like everybody, I retired 6 years ago, and my income is my Social Security and a small annuity under $25,000. And yet every March I have to pay that full fee, which right now I believe we're in our third year of it being $495. And I think that because this is now 2022, that we should reconsider the grandfather clause on redoing it and making it that you only have to pay half if indeed you would qualify either monetary of your income or if you were the only person owning your building, that your husband or significant other has deceased and there's only one of you, then you shouldn't have to pay the whole cost. And I understand that this has been brought up before and just simply, okay, no, we won't do it. And that's what somebody else had told me.
Dale.
But I know. With your new budget and everything, I started reading the independent articles last October, and I read them very thoroughly. And with all of this preservation and purchase and budget and everything that you want to do for future years, to have that money, you need the income. So I don't think, they turned it off.
President Lair?
We did hear your, go ahead.
May I comment? One of the things that are available for our Sun City residents, especially when you've had the change of income like you're talking about, being widowed, is to look at the Sun City Foundation, because the Sun City Foundation does help those that are on that tight income and that are at that poverty level meet their annual assessment. And we do help many residents with that. So the Sun City Foundation might be an area that you would like to go to.
I went to the foundation, and indeed I brought all of my paperwork, and they said that because you receive a $110 monthly annuity in addition to your Social Security, that you were over the limit.
Okay.
And you didn't qualify.
Okay. And have you checked with Sun City CAN as well as assistance?
I do get the help with the taxes.
Okay.
And I do get the other things.
Okay.
But still, my other neighbors that live all around me, we're all single. There's only one unit out of 15 that has two people in it.
Okay, thank you very much. I have to.
Thank you for giving me the couple of minutes of extra time.
Thank you.
The next person signed up is Donald. Bill Pearson.
I was going to come up and say Donald Duck, my number is quack, 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 but that wouldn't be appropriate. I don't know, I think somebody signed up and pulled your leg, Marcia. Bill Pearson, 133438. Just so, for Gail's sake, you know, that back and forth on single payment versus couples payments has been raging for 60-plus years from a historical perspective. Boards look at it and have adjusted from time to time, and just so you know, it's been that way for a very long time. I wasn't going to say anything today. In fact, I encourage members from the Sun City Advocates when they come today to be nice. So I'm going to try and be nice, but I'm going to tell you something. I listened to what you say very carefully, Alan, and the rest of the board, about doing things carefully and making sure we get it right. I'm going to tell you that if I gave you the bylaws written from 1960 to 2006, and you read them, they were perfectly written. There was a balance between the board's rights and responsibilities and the members' rights and responsibilities. From 2006 to 2021, the general manager and the board members sitting up there stripped those rights from members. Let me repeat that, stripped those rights from members. There was nothing cautious about it. It was callous, it was cruel, and it destroyed the fabric of this community where there is a balance. Now you have all of the power, except, and thank you very much, Dale, because you admitted it. I've been telling the members this. Ricky, to you, don't waste your time trying to kick board members off with a petition. If we want to do something, the special membership meeting, we own. You admitted it today, Dale, we own. We get enough signatures, it's our meeting, we can make motions and change whatever we want.
No.
Oh, yeah. Go to the Articles of Incorporation. You can't use your bylaws to defend Articles of Incorporation because the Articles of Incorporation are first and foremost. Again, I actually support going back to member exchange, except you left off that second part of it, Mike, that was on the sheet. Oh, by the way, agendas, when you're going to print them, print enough so that when people walk in the door, they can get them. I had to look at somebody else's. That's just rude. It's just rude. I don't care about your minutes. I want to know what the agenda is. So I borrowed somebody else's agenda, and I saw the second portion of that where you talked about the planning meetings quarterly and that you were going to tape it. And so pieces work in conjunction with one another. If you're going to do it all. Don't do it half-assed. Do it all. I mean, you had it on there, you put it on the sheet, and then you ignored it. I will tell you, as a former board member, the most important thing we could do, the most important thing that we could do as a board and as members who cared was to open up the work sessions. You don't have to let us speak, but let us see them. Let us hear what you're talking about. I applaud the move to work sessions videotaped, and we hear what you're talking about. But when you go behind closed doors and do stuff, nobody respects or trusts you.
Sir, can I just address that? We did not change the planning sessions. It's still in there. There's no change to that. It's not highlighted.
That's why I didn't read it. It's not highlighted.
It wasn't read because it's still there.
Where is it?
We are having a planning session.
I understand. Where is
after
that?
this meeting. Where is it?
Yeah. What do you mean? No, I know it's on the sheet. Where is it in the bylaws about planning sessions?
It's, what's the motion that you read, the number exactly?
Number 5.
Meetings of the board.
It's Article 5, Section 5, titles, meetings of the board. It's still in there. It's
Okay.
still happening.
So you're still
And
going to
we're-
do that?
And we're still
My
going to do
apologies.
that.
I haven't seen that.
That's okay. I'm glad you're being nice.
I am being nice. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, everybody that signed up has spoken.
Okay, anybody who wishes to speak can come up now.
Mike Wendell, 145206. President Lair and board members. I'm really speaking to motions 2 and 3 today, which were defeated. And I want to make a couple of comments. I'm not expecting any response. I'm going to keep it brief. Based on the votes, it becomes obvious where board members stand, in my opinion, regarding the membership. It was very clear, was kind of what I expected. Director Lara said we're making the board the bad guys. That's not happening. You're making yourself the bad guys by what you're doing. So I take difference in that, difference of opinion. As far as the getting a petition, it came up about approval. It's not approval that was being requested, it's permission. There's a big difference between permission and approval. Getting permission to go out and get a petition is one thing. Getting approval is something different. That comes into the liability. There is no liability involved in giving permission, allowing us to go out and follow a procedure and to get signatures on site and to get the signatures in general. We don't need approval for that. We shouldn't need it. We need permission, and that's all it was, housekeeping. It's not something that's going to introduce liability, as Director Linefsky said. It's not a liability issue to give permission. What Director Linefsky has said and what other things the board has said, you're forcing the membership now to get into attorney versus attorney. I need to get an attorney to file a petition and have it written up correctly. Now it becomes corporation versus the individual. That's not right in this kind of a community. You know, it's something very different. And that whole liability issue and then forcing us and saying, it's going to be done right, we have to do it this way, means I have to get an attorney as an individual. And then lastly, I'll just mention the 2-hour limit on meetings. I think it should be something you just put on the agenda, an ending time, let the board vote at that time, bring a motion forward to adjourn the meeting, and then adjourn it if the board agrees to adjourn it, or continue it if it seems like it should go on for another 20 or 30 minutes. That's it. I would recommend a board member make an amendment to that motion to change that part to where you set an end time and the board still has to vote to adjourn. Thank you.
President Lear, Board of Directors, my name is Kim Summers, and 159369. Thank you. And though I have found this really, it's my first time here. I've lived here for 7 months, 8 months now, and it's my first time here, though I found this really interesting. And you can expect me to come back. But I'm here to talk about the dog park, something different. And for those of you with the other bigger issues, I apologize. I know these issues are bigger. The dog park is having a problem, and this problem occurs with the RCSC relationship and not with the club relationship, in my opinion. I take my dog there at least twice a day. He loves it. It's exciting to him to be there. I think that's the way for all the dogs who enter that dog park. But we have two problems. One is that there are people with larger dogs who have extremely improper, they break the code. Let's see, you call it the code of ethics. Let's see, the code of conduct. Card holders and guests will refrain from loud, profane, indecent, and abusive language, and card holders and guests will not harass or abuse verbally or physically any other person. So I have to say I've been the recipient of that, along with other people, and I'm tired of it. When I take an incident report to RCSC, I'm told there's not enough of them. We need more of them. 1 isn't enough. 2 isn't enough. 3 isn't enough to get a response. Secondly, I have witnessed a large dog attack a small dog, and 1 incident report is not enough. 2 incident reports are not enough. 3 incident reports are not enough. How much is enough? There's a problem with the system and the responsibility of the RCSC side of this. I think even though you put down that you are not responsible legally for anything, I don't believe that.
I think our attorney here can concur with that. You can become responsible. And, you know, so that is an issue. The second issue is we need a small dog park, period. It has to go on your agenda. It's ridiculous. You can divide the park there if you want. I don't care whatever is there, or you can find us another place.
Okay.
But this is a large enough committee, a large enough area to require a small dog park. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for coming forward. Bill, I was going to address it, but go ahead.
Madam President, Ms. Summers, first of all, I have not seen any incident reports come in. I do see all of them. So I haven't seen any recently. I can say that we have addressed these issues with the board. I can't discuss details, but we do take action. So, and it has been done very recently. So I don't know if Kevin or Chris, if there's anybody, incident reports that I haven't seen, but we haven't seen any in 2022 that I know of.
Well, we really have to get to the bottom of this, because if this is truly happening and there's...
This is true, and I've turned mine in, and my girlfriend has turned her in the last 30 days. Thank you.
Well, definitely we're going to check into this, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. Director Collins.
I just wanted to say to Ms. Summers, when you came forward, you said your issue is not as big as the other ones. There's no such thing as an issue not being big enough. They're all equal in our eyes. Thank you.
Ben Roloff, 12663. A potpourri of ideas for today. I wrote a very long letter to our president, and I spared the rest of you board members. I just quickly summarize and just say that I promise to stick to history and no more unauthorized straw votes, at least for now. Some history, starting with the most recent. I didn't have an opportunity to start my clock for me, so I don't go over your sacred 3-minute rule. The current history, I didn't get an agenda today because I wasn't here on time, I guess. But if I saw an action today, we postponed votes on like bylaws until and postponed the ad hoc committee and postponed until we can look at everything in total, and then passed on the first reading a bylaw amendment that was proposed by Vice President Egge. That seemed a little contradictory to me, but I may have misinterpreted that. Some older history, much older history. I've been coming to the board meetings for 25 years regularly, have spoken here often. I was before clocks. I was with member exchanges. I watched them come. I watched them go. There was good points about that. There was not such good points. We've never had time limits on any meeting. Most all of our meetings in history have lasted an hour to an hour and a half. It's just that maybe the lengthy meetings isn't lying with the folks out here. The responsibility was up there in the last year. Some history that kind of came up today. You dealt with the idea about signing petitions. I can tell you where it first came. There was no language in our documents about signing petitions until a group of political activists in Sun City decided that they wanted to circulate petitions in Sun City to duplicate what California did with freezing their property taxes, Prop 8 or whatever that was. And the board decided that that was political and that we shouldn't be having petitions like that signed on property, and wrote it carte blanche, no petitions. That's where it came from.
Interesting.
One of the things that I watched that I don't like very much is the fact that for all the history that I witnessed up until the last couple months of last year, This board acted as an informal board with informal rules that meant that the leader of the board, that I didn't vote for president, I voted for Dale twice as a director, but I did not vote for you voted her president. Our boards have acted as informal boards with the president fully discussing, making motions, giving opinions on motions, and voting on every single motion. That changed to all of a sudden the president for a couple months could only vote on a tie. That's a big formal board. And now we have a president who's kind of blending the two together.
And it's hard.
And really should either abstain from voting or abstain from making motions or abstain from discussion. One or the other.
It's very hard.
I know it's hard.
And I will tell you, we try to put something in to say, we're going to follow Robert's Rules Order, may instead of shall. And everybody wanted it to be very formal. So,
well, who is the everybody? Because
we heard
all of
from
the prior boards.
everybody in the room here, not on this table.
Yes.
I mean, that was,
well,
20 people came up and said, absolutely not.
Excuse me, but Robert's Rules leaves you the opportunity to decide, which you have decided over and over and over every single year in the past, that you're going to act as an informal board up here in terms of the president being a full participant. Mm-hmm. And that requires voting, mm-hmm. not abstaining.
Thank you.
My name is Janet Curry, 155-488, and I just have a question about something about this last motion and vote is about working sessions and planning sessions. Because I was thinking that you already had it mixed up between planning and a planning session quarterly and a working session. It says at the end that you didn't change, that there's a planning session quarterly, et cetera, et cetera. These sessions will be open to attendance by members who will not be allowed to comment, and these sessions will be recorded and posted on the website, which I have no problem with. Is that the way work sessions are going to be as well?
We don't have work sessions right now that.
Okay.
Yeah. We have the planning session, which we are going to have right after this
I know
meeting.
That. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Well, the difference will be, since I haven't been to a planning session, I guess.
And it says planning sessions will be held quarterly or as needed.
Okay.
We haven't done them quarterly.
Yeah.
It's been as needed.
Okay. So there are no work sessions at this point in time?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Jean Totten, 148753. I'm going to be nice, too.
Oh, good.
I'm smiling. You can't tell. I wasn't going to talk either. I didn't have anything planned at all. So I just want to make a couple of comments. President Lehr, oh, did you? You did, okay. President Lehr, thank you for the opinion. And I am looking forward to working with you and the rest of the board this year. But then on the same day came the proposed motion from Vice President Egge that had a lot of time limits and directions to the members in it. Mm-hmm. And I thought that felt like a contradiction.
Can I say something?
Not on my time.
Not on your time.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. You all, the RCSC has many avenues of communication available to you. My group doesn't. This past week, I was planning on attending the election committee. I wanted to become a member of it. Mm-hmm. I noted the time posted. And if I had not spoken to someone who was previously a member, I would not have known that it was canceled. Mm-hmm. I think that's poor communication on your part, and I would look forward to seeing better communication in some regard. blast email, electronic board, something. We talk about results from the different meetings. Last year, a couple of things were brought up that I was concerned about. I've not heard a thing since, and I don't know how we ever will. One was about the money that is carried forward at the end of the year from one year to the other on the budget. I believe I heard it's over $1 million this year. I would just love to know where does that get funneled? Is there a line item on the, so we members can see where that money goes. The other thing that was brought up by a colleague was about the charity match. We were all a little amazed in the audience to hear that if a club wants to do a charity match, that they also have to give the same amount to the board. I would like more information on that. You all cried when there were only 20 people here. And in the past, you've had to beg people to run for the board. Now you've got interest, and you're wanting to impose limits on us. I fail to understand. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, and you can answer me now if you want.
That's okay.
Oh,
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Go ahead. Bill Cook.
Madam President, Board of Directors, Ms. Totten, so with respect to the carry forward, I would just like to make a comment. When we do have a carry forward, that means that we were fiscally responsible with respect to our budget, and so we do have some excess. You can find that in our cash line, so it would be in, what is the exact line item? Yeah, it's the general cash line, and so, and in the reserve as well. So, and I would just like to say that with that carry forward, that allows us not to raise our assessments every year. So we have, some room in case there are some budgetary items that we have in a current year. With respect to the matching of any type of donations, Chris, you actually pulled together a pretty good summary. Would you like to just bring a couple of those points? So Chris has some history there that I think are very valid and did a good summary on that.
Madam President, Board of Directors, the question did come up regarding that, the match, charitable match from clubs. A little bit of historical research goes back between Board Policy 12 and Board Policy 12A, which was its predecessor. That language regarding the match between RCSC and an outside organization can be found going all the way back to May 17th of 1993. So that is not a new piece of language in the board policy. And in doing a little bit of research on that, there's probably two areas that are of particular concern, and one is related to the 501c4 designation as a social organization. There are some IRS publications that indicate that an organization on that designation is for the benefit and the pleasure of its members. Mm-hmm. And when we see donations or dollars that are coming out of the organization and leaving, there's some concern that that may put that designation at risk. The clubs themselves fall underneath the group exemption of our 501c4 designation. And so that research, while I may be citing maybe not the perfect part of IRS publications, I think that is truly one of the main concerns that we have, that those assets, those monies leave the organization and aren't to the benefit of the membership. And then secondly, those contributions also help to offset the expenses that RCSC has in providing the amenities that those clubs use. So those clubs then are using the RCSC facilities at no charge and then funneling potentially a number of those resources out, and that contribution back to RCSC ensures that some of that stays and offsets that resource or those resources and expenses that we're providing for their benefit.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Lori Ellingson, 133335. I'm wondering if the board would consider changing your mission statement to this. My goal in 2022 is to accomplish the goals I set in 2021, which I should have done in 2020 because I made a promise in 2019, which I planned in 2018. In 2016, there was a town hall meeting. It was held in October 2nd, I believe, to see what the members wanted for changes to Mountain View. First of all, holding a town hall meeting in October only involves 60% of the residents, because according to SHOA, 40% of our residents in Sun City are snowbirds. Why hold a town hall meeting when 40% of your residents aren't even available to speak? The other question, why are the board meetings held at 9 a.m. when the majority of the residents are playing golf, playing pickleball, playing tennis, hiking, and participating in all the clubs that are offered? I don't think it is a fair representation of the membership, of the residents, when the only time they're allowed to speak is at a 9 a.m. board meeting. I think it would be wise if you changed some of the member exchange and offered them in the afternoon or offered them in the evening. Then you would get a fair representation of what the majority of the members really want. The other thing that I think is extremely important is getting surveys, getting feedback. Every single time I fly, every single time I participate in any event, every single time I go to the doctor, I immediately get a survey. Please tell us how we did. I think the RCSC board needs to incorporate the same philosophy. As soon as we participate, let us reply back and let us tell you how our experience was. You'll have a better understanding of what the members really are asking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and speak? Okay. At this time, I'd like to make some announcements. Our next meeting is going to be February, I'm sorry? Oh, board comments. Oh, I'm sorry. Oops, forgot. Okay, board comments. Director McAdam, do you have your hand up? No. Yes?
I do have.
I do.
So my question is simply, I'm a little befuddled by the fact that it seems as though there is board action being taken in particular situations without notification to the whole board. And I'm just asking for clarification about that. Is there any subset of this board that is allowed to take board action without either notification of the whole board or hearing the voice of the board as put forward in an officially constituted meeting?
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Just asking, is there anything that happens where just a couple of board members are acting on behalf of the board without notifying the rest of the board that they're doing so? Or would you consider that to be legitimate?
I'm not, You mean like if we are sitting in the office and we're talking, is that what you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
That's not board action, that's just board discussion. So, okay, let me.
Board action.
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Toland, for coming up today and telling us that you had submitted something on January 5th. And if I'm able to do some elementary math, today's January 27th, so 22 days ago, you submitted something that has been acted on by a partial subset of the board, and the rest of the board has not even been notified of that having been done at all. We found out this morning that that has happened. And so I'm asking for some clarification about that. Is that the way this board operates?
Did you read the policy on petitions? It goes directly to the secretary, then he does some background work, and his background work is sending it to the attorney for some advice, and then he comes to the board, and then action is taken. So there's no action taken.
I have an issue with that. It seems to me that, the idea that the rest of the board members could be approached by members about things that they have received responses from, and the board members don't even know about this, it violates to me the unitary voice of the board that I believe is a really, really significant thing. And I'm just asking for clarification about that. Do we feel like that's okay? It's okay for board members to take action like that without even notifying the rest of the board?
I think that Secretary Lenevsky was following the bylaws, and I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Oh, you went over. Okay.
She had 30 seconds.
Director Collins.
Let me fix my clock.
Oh.
Okay, I have a few items.
Okay.
One is next meeting, I'm going to make a motion to bring back the videotaping of the committee meetings because I think everyone should be able to see what the committees are up to. The second one is the dog park issue. They changed the COC to quarterly, and maybe we need to go back to monthly because that's the first time I even heard of anything, but I wasn't on the committee when the first meeting was held, but the next one isn't held until April. That's just, as far as the charity, I know that was a big concern, but I just want to say something. I'm on the men's club and I do the bingo, and we get most of our people come from outside of Sun City, and we don't have to charge them $3 to come in. So if we had to charge them $3, we would be contributing a lot more money than, the men's club is the biggest charity that Sun City has. So to make us have to pay for each individual, plus it will limit our membership, people coming in, because they won't want to pay that. So in lieu of that, we match dollars. If we want to give every penny to the Sun City Foundation, it's up to the men's club board, but they can do that and not have to give anything. But if they want to contribute to other charities, they match, which, they're more than happy to do that because of the fact that we get the beautiful hall. We don't have to pay for anything. Our people don't have to pay. So when you think about the charities, you got to take into effect the biggest charity in Sun City versus the smaller clubs that are using electricity or whatever to make their items to do charity. And I would urge everyone to please check and see how many other clubs actually are a big part of the charity like the biggest club is. And that's all I wanted to say about that. The main thing is one of our employees was punched and knocked to the ground a week ago. And I find that just so appalling.
I'm sorry. I'm point of order. I'm not sure that's.
It's my comment.
I'm not sure that's public information. I'm not sure he can talk about that.
I'm not sure either.
I'm not sure you can talk about that.
I'm not saying who or anything else.
Who.
You do FBI's most wanted list. They talk about people they're looking for, and I just think that it's totally wrong. And if we can notify all of our people, if we have any related information, I think we should use what we have to notify every member, every employee.
Okay.
Madam President.
Director Wilson.
I would just like to comment on the dog park issue. That was a facility, it was not a club. The COC would only be dealing with a club issue. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Madam President,
Director Fimmel.
a couple of things. I'm sure an incident report was filed, but it's probably very difficult to share the information publicly because no one has been charged with anything. I'm not disputing that whether the incident occurred or not. I'm simply saying that I don't think we're positioned to make accusations against people until we've adjudicated some aspect of the process. My other question is a protocol question, which is that Mr. Collins has just declared some motions he's going to make. If I intend to make motions at the next meeting, do I have to declare them?
No.
No.
Okay.
Please don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Director Collins, if I could just address, first of all, recording the committee meetings. I do understand the value of that, and I believe the board does as well, but it's actually very opportune because this next planning session is going to explain, and I don't want to steal the thunder away from our IT, but any excess data or anything flowing through our network could compromise it at this point. So you're going to hear some recommendations that will help us in the future to be able to allow that. So I just wanted to let you know that we are looking at that, okay? And then secondly, passing out information with respect to incidents that occur within RCSC property. I mean, we have things that happen all the time. What I don't want to do is, one, be an alarmist and send things out when things happen, and then know that we do follow procedures, and we've trained our employees on how to follow those in terms of contacting MCSO, contacting their supervisors, so they are very aware of how that happens, and we do let our employees know when things like this happen so that they can react the way that we've trained them. What I don't want is for rogue members who want to protect and to potentially get into an issue with respect to trying to, take care of somebody that they see. And if there's a mistaken identity, then there could be a liability as well with respect to somebody trying to take care of that. So I just wanted to address that.
I have one question.
Sure.
Were all the employees notified of all the information that you had?
The FAs, so all the FAs have that information, and Lakeview has that information.
Only the supervisors?
No, facility attendants.
Facility attendants.
All of them.
So all the facility attendants have that information. So they're the ones that are checking people in. And if somebody comes to them, they'll know. If a member comes to them and says they see somebody that's doing something that they shouldn't be, that the FAs know that's, if they identify that person, then they know. So.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Oh, Karen.
Sorry.
Director McAdam.
Two things. One, Madam President, you mentioned that Secretary Linevsky is operating according to our bylaws in his process. I would just like for you to later on show me what the bylaw is that describes that process. But I would actually like to ask about sort of this big elephant in the room right now, which is the 90-day pause button that was pressed with respect to ongoing developments at Mountain View, and just to ask us as a board, a certain amount of time has passed, and what are our intentions for how we want to use those 90 days? What is the process that we're engaged in? At the last meeting, there was no path forward described, but I'm asking myself whether we are neglecting our responsibilities by acting like it almost didn't happen. There was no mention of that at this meeting today at all. So just a question, what exactly are we waiting 90 days for?
Madam President, I understand
Dr. Fimmel.
I understand there's going to be a meeting in the near term at which Mountain View may be an issue of discussion. And I've been clear, I think, to a number of members that I have some specific comments with regard to Mountain View, and I'd like to address it during that meeting and not necessarily at this moment in a public forum.
Thank you.
Should we get to find out when that meeting is, or what the meeting is?
Your first question was about, the 90-day moratorium. The previous board had approved, and you wanted a 90-day moratorium as new members on the board to bring yourself up to speed with what was there, to follow up, to do any due diligence you needed to make a sound decision. We gave you the 90 days. And I know you've been working very hard because I see tons of emails and lots going on regarding the Mountain View project and different ideas that you have about that. Not just from you, but from the other new members of the board as well. So it's not a formal process. This is time given to you as a new director on the board so that you can make a sound decision.
Okay, Madam President?
Director McAdam.
So I guess my question simply is, as we're asking questions and getting answers and doing our research and trying to be diligent about getting the information that we need, what's the next step after we've done that? Are we going to, so apparently there is a meeting that's scheduled that I don't know anything about, or what is the next step in this process?
I think after the 90-day moratorium, the motion's going to come back up for discussion.
Madam President, since I made the motion, let me be really clear what I said. I said that I had heard during the campaign and since then a number of critics with a number of different viewpoints of what should be done with Mountain View, and that I wanted, that I was not seeking to instruct the staff to do anything or the board to do anything. It was an opportunity for those who are opposed. Many of the people opposed have different views of what should be done to present their case before us. It's not necessarily a moratorium. I was clear on that also. The staff has not been prevented from working on anything except we are prevented as RCSC from entering into a new contract for 90 days. If it expires 90 days from the day it passed. If somebody wants to do something on the board and bring a motion to extend it, change it, or whatever, that's their prerogative. I simply asked for, and the board voted for, no new contracts for 90 days from that date.
And Madam President, if I may add, that will form a portion of a motion I am intending to make.
I couldn't hear it.
That will form a portion of a motion I intend to make.
Okay,
at the
thank
next
you.
meeting.
Thank you. Okay, any other further discussion? Okay, announcements. Our next meeting is February 14th, 2022, here in the Sundial Auditorium at 9 a.m. Immediately following this session, we are going to have a planning session to discuss RCSC's information technology and infrastructure review and recommendations. Is there any other business to be discussed?
Madam President, I would just like to note that we did go past the 2 hours today.
Yep, we sure did.
Madam President,
can we have 5 minutes?
Yes. I would like to adjourn this meeting, if at all possible, and if there's no further business, we have one. Yeah, we've kind of passed on the member comments, but go ahead.
I live in Sun City. Is this the full board?
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All of you are members of the board?
Yes.
That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
and
Okay,
I
so
just
with
wa-
no
I
other
just wanted
business.
to urge people to attend the planning session.
Yes,
It's going to be very important.
Please speak to it. Kat is our chair of our technology committee, and this is a very, very important meeting. There's a lot of things that people are asking for. Why can't we do this? Why can't we do that? Kat's going to talk to you about it.
And I think many of those questions may be answered today. We have a new IT manager. I want to say that I think he's done a yeoman's job thus far. I think you're going to find the planning session very informative, and you'll maybe get a better grasp of the issues that we're facing today and into the future with regard to our technology.
Thank you. Okay, so with no other further business and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. We're going to take a 10-minute break before the planning session. Thank you.
is a copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.